Filipino fever, Alexandra Eala and the unexpected wave in Melbourne. Melbourne, it may be time to start paying closer, more serious attention to the Philippine market in tennis. What is happening with Alexandra Eala and the Philippines is a phenomenon with few points of comparison. Her three-set loss to North American Alicia Parks is almost irrelevant in this context. On day 2 of the Australian Open, thousands of Filipinos showed that they are already a significant community for tennis, one that will fill venues every time the 20-year-old steps onto the court. Eala is only the world number 49, but it would not be an exaggeration to say she is one of the most popular players in the draw. Tournament organizers made an unforced error by failing to grasp that reality. The Melbourne debut of Rafael Nadal's protégé was scheduled on court 6, next to the courtside bar, with very limited seating. It quickly became obvious that the match should have been placed on one of the secondary show courts, which can hold between 3,000 and 5,000 spectators. The line to get in stretched for several meters, all the way to the side of Margaret Court Arena across the venue. The massive interest Eala generates back home, in the world's 14th most populous country, and anywhere she plays, has been on full display in Melbourne, where around 50,000 people born in the Philippines live, along with many more descendants. We're very proud of her, she's making history. Now a lot of people of my country are interested in playing tennis. They're inspired by her, a young Filipino fan told Clay while watching Eala on the giant screens. She has lived in Melbourne for 6 years and had never attended the Australian Open before. This is my first time here. I came just to see her. I think a lot of Filipinos called in sick just to be here, she added with a laugh, with a small Philippine flag painted on her cheek. For Filipinos, having a professional tennis player is something entirely new. There are 115 million Filipinos and I'm the first tennis player in history. It's crazy, Eala said in an interview with Clay last September, fully aware of the impact she is having among her compatriots. As happened in New York, where she earned her first Grand Slam win, and now again in Melbourne, the sport's major capitals will have to be ready. The Filipino tennis fever is on the rise. Filipino fever, Alexandra Eala and the unexpected wave in Melbourne. There are moments in sports when the world stops, if only briefly, to watch something beautiful unfold, not because a champion is crowned, but because a story resonates. For the Philippines, and for a hunger so deep it could fill stadium seats across continents, Alexandra Eala's arrival in Melbourne was one of those moments. A nation's hopes carried on rackets. It began with simple dreams. A young girl in Quezon City picking up a tennis racket, her eyes trained not on a distant horizon but on the next point, the next horizon. There was no precedent, no Filipino legend in tennis to emulate, unlike in boxing or basketball, where heroes have always found their way into playground lore. But Alex's dream did not begin in a vacuum. It began in the heart of a community eager to see itself on the world stage. By early January 2026, Eala had already climbed to world number 49 in the WTA rankings, a first for the Philippines, not just in women's tennis, but among all Filipino tennis players. She had rewritten the history books simply by existing at that level. In making her Australian Open main draw debut at Melbourne Park, the first Filipina ever to enter the event in that capacity, she carried the hopes of an entire nation. Even before the first serve was struck, she had already done something remarkable. She turned the Australian Open into a Filipino event with a global stage. 2. Melbourne Park becomes Filipino territory. The atmosphere at Melbourne Park on that crisp January morning was unlike any typical Grand Slam scene. Court 6, usually home to lesser-known fixtures or players working towards center court glory, became a cauldron of colors, blue, red, yellow, mirrors of the Philippine flag waving in rhythmic fervor. Hundreds of Filipino supporters, locals who had flown in, families who had camped overnight, friends who had gathered to share the moment, converged around the court like a tidal wave. They packed not just the seats but the surrounding corridors, the outside screens, the very air. Hundreds more were turned away, unable to squeeze in but determined to feel the energy. Eala's practice sessions became spectator events, drawing crowds that felt more like rock concert gatherings than routine warm-ups. For them, this wasn't just a tennis match. It was a celebration of identity, of heritage, and of a collective belief that could no longer be contained at home islands thousands of miles away. Melbourne Park had been captured, not by conquest, but by love. 3. The match, rise, collapse, and revelation. The match itself defied prediction. Eala's opponent, American Alicia Parks, was a tough competitor, experienced, powerful, and a seasoned force on tour. But when Alex stepped onto the court, something electric happened. From the first serve, the Filipino crowd exploded. Every rally was punctuated by chants, flags waving madly, and emotions so raw they seemed contagious. Eala played like a woman possessed, her footwork sharp, her shots crisp. She stormed the opening set 6-0, a stunning statement that echoed far beyond the court lines. But tennis, like all great theater, often pivots. Parks, tested and challenged, found her footing, adapted her strategy, and pushed back. Momentum shifted. The crowd's intensity remained. If anything, it increased, but the flame of momentum that had surged for Eala dimmed. Parks rallied, winning the next 2 sets 6-3, 6-2, and sealed her victory. On paper, it was a loss. But in the hearts of those watching, it felt like a triumph the likes of which the Philippines had never seen. For, more than a match, a cultural phenomenon. What happened in Melbourne was not only athletic, it was cultural, a Filipino fever. In every corner of Melbourne Park there were stories. A father teaching his children the Philippine anthem, elderly relatives recording every point with tears of joy, diaspora communities reconnecting through shared pride, strangers becoming friends by shouting the same name, Alex. 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 With such fervor it was as if their voices could warp the laws of physics. This wasn't just fandom, it was identity in motion, live and loud on tennis courts that momentarily became pieces of home far away. And in a global sport often dominated by athletes from traditionally powerful nations, this wave was unexpected precisely because it came from a place not historically associated with tennis glory. Yet what makes Alex's journey so compelling is not just success, it's representation. In 2025, Eala stunned the tennis world by reaching the semifinals of the Miami Open, defeating top players including Grand Slam champions and breaking into the top 100 of the WTA rankings. Here was a Filipino woman standing toe-to-toe with the world's best, not once, but with consistent brilliance. It was still fresh in people's minds when she landed in Melbourne, and the collective anticipation was palpable. The story beneath the stats. Sports statistics are cold and unmoving, rankings, scores, set lines. But what those numbers fail to capture is the human heartbeat beneath them, the way success reshapes belief. Alex's journey is not merely a succession of results.